What stats should you look at to verify hot starts in the first 2 weeks of the season? How long should you hold on to cold players? How much fab should you bid on players? All that, plus we'll go through a ton of players and give our buy, sell, hold, and drop takes. All that coming up next on Beat the Shift. And welcome to another episode of the Beat the Shift podcast. I am your host, Ariel Cohen, and with me, as always, is Ruvain Guy. What's going on, Ruvain?
Not much. How are you doing today?
Well, I played 7 hours of softball/baseball yesterday, so I'm feeling great. We played our first 2 league games, and I got a win and a save, and then I played a pickup game later, and I got a save. In the league games, 9 innings, not my best outing, but, good enough. 12 hits, 5 walks, that I got to cut down. 3 earned runs, which is not so bad for softball. But really gets great to be out there. Beautiful day in New York, and I'm so excited that we're back playing ball,
I wish I was able to say the same thing, but my schedule just doesn't work out, and I actually bowed out of my softball league this year. So this is the first year in about, I'd say, 25 or 30 years that I haven't played softball.
I actually might be playing a couple of odd games in the league that you played in the summer. I know it's like an hour and a half for me, but they said that they might need some subs sometime in the summer and late games. So maybe you could watch me pitch a little bit.
Yeah, if the schedule allows, we'll see.
All right. Well, we've got a fantastic guest on the show. We've had him on before. Sky Dombroske, what's going on, Sky?
Hey guys, how are you today?
I'm doing good. What about you, Sky? Did you recover from our Tout Wars draft?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Sam Wershing about this, and my proximity to you in the room makes it really easy for me to recover from that. Those people that are next to you, they heart palpitations, blood pressure's up for a week or two after. So no, I'm pretty good.
Well, you drafted a fantastic team. You beat me in the first week. Congratulations to you on that. I did pass over the median, so I went 1-1 for the week. We both won our second week matchups and the median, so I think you've got like a 3-1, a 4-0 record. I'm 3-1, so pretty good.
I expect to be battling you all season long.
Yes, absolutely the same.
But it's only week 2. It's only week 2, week 3, so there's a lot of baseball left.
Absolutely.
Yes, this is true. Ruvain. We're just getting started here. All right. Well, we got a great show today. We're going to talk about some players that have had some hot, cold starts. We're going to actually talk about what to do with them. We're going to say, what are we doing with them, right? Maybe we'll talk about, maybe you drop them in this league format. Maybe you pick them up in another league format. Really good actionable advice. And I'm going to talk a little bit of strategy about what you do in the first 2 weeks of the season in general. And hopefully that will give you an idea of how to play your fantasy baseball league. So we'll start with you, Sky. And when you evaluate the very first 2 weeks of the season and you see players that are either hot or cold or whatever, what sabermetric metrics do you use to actually tell if the start is legit, if they're actually cold and stay away, or if they're hot, stay away, or if, they've been bad, but they've actually been unlucky, or the reverse, they've been good and they've been lucky. What do you use to actually evaluate this process?
Well, I think you always have to be super careful. We all have been chomping at the bit for months to get out here and, draft our teams and watch them compete and make decisions. And it's so easy to just have knee-jerk reactions that end up being the wrong choice, especially in the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season. I think until you get about 6 weeks in, it's really tough to find anything that is actionable. But I would say the first thing that I'm going to look at, and I after a couple starts, 2 or 3 starts, I think it is useful, is velocity for starting pitchers. I think that's the first thing that's an actual physical attribute. It's something that I think you can carry it through spring. You see it in the spring, and Kodai Senga, I think, is an example of what I'm talking about. I know he struggled a little bit with his control, but seeing him up a couple miles an hour, he was already good. If he can harness that properly, that could be just massive for him. So I think that that's the first thing that I'm looking at. Carlos Estevez is another example on the other end, where he was 6 miles an hour down. Like that's every red flag you could ever imagine. So that's the first thing I look at for pitching. For hitting, it's a couple things. Number one, bat speed slash exit velocity, which if I'm giving pitcher velocity a 9 out of 10 on the credence scale at this point, I'm probably giving that 3 or 4. But also swing decisions, being more aggressive or less aggressive at the plate. I think that's something that stabilizes pretty early, and you can see people that are trying to make adjustments at the plate and be a little bit different than they have been in the past, perhaps.
Absolutely. All fantastic stuff to look at. Ruben, anything to add?
Yeah, for pitchers, I'm looking for walk rate and strikeout rate per 9 innings. I think that's very important. And because we have such a small sample size, I actually opened up the spring training stats to see if they're correlated. And a lot of the players that we're going to talk about actually had the same type of issues in spring training that they do have during the season, whether it's taking a long time to build up or whatever it is. But I've noticed that. And with hitters, I was looking through the list of players that we're going to be talking about, and a lot of the players have a stark difference in their launch angle, which I don't know if it's actionable or not, but I've noticed that it's been a big issue.
So, all of you are correct, and the other thing I'll add is usage. I think that it really says something if you see a batter batting fourth, fifth in the lineup on a consistent basis, or are they batting eighth or ninth on a consistent basis? I think that if you're pre notions of them have them deteriorating in playing time or gaining, I think that to me is a big tell as well. So it's skill and those metrics are there, but usage actually matters quite a bit. And when I'm looking to pick up players on the waiver wire, I am looking for people with usage that I didn't really think of. Sky, we talked about this on our last episode with Sam and Britton, but, what is the turning point early on in the season where you say, you know what, I'm going to ignore preseason projections, preseason analysis, and I'm going to look more in the season. Like the first week of the season, obviously you're not going to, somebody at 3 home runs, you're not going to say, oh my God, this guy is this. But there's some point in the season where you say, all right, forget what my notion is. It's what they've done in the middle of the season. What is that turning point for you?
Yeah, it's usually around mid-May for me. I tend to not be really aggressive with making major moves early. I did cut Brenton Doyle pretty quickly, but it was more because I had Chase Stallouter on my reserve roster than anything else. I had an extra spot. Doyle looks like he's having the same problems as last year. It's early. I probably acted a little too rashly, but I had some other holes I wanted to get filled. I want to get my roster kind of set 3 to 4 weeks in so I can coast for a while. But yeah, for me, it's mid-May, almost perpetually.
Yeah, and you know what? I actually agree with you. And I think on the previous show, I think even Ruvain also took the under of 2 to 4 weeks. I'm actually with you. I think it's 6 weeks. I still use preseason stuff even through the middle of May as well. So I agree. Did I get your take wrong, Ruvain?
I said between 3 and 4 weeks usually because
Okay.
you want to get at least like 75 to 100 at bats and 40 30 to 60 innings just under your belt to see what's going on, because I think at that point you can see trends starting to occur.
Okay, so the question, Sky, is now we're talking about quickness to act and fab. You take a guy like Jordan Walker, who obviously has 5 homers. You can't really wait for you to see, well, is he really hot? Is he really for real? Will this continue? If you don't pick him up, you won't get him because obviously he's going to be picked up. The question is, how quickly do you act on picking up a guy? Or maybe it's not a question of how quickly. Maybe it's very tied into what's the opportunity cost of throwing away players on your own team.
Right. Yeah, I think it's definitely much more the latter there than the former. I almost always am going to miss out on those, lightning guys early, because I just am a little more patient. I'm a little more confident in the month or two of research I did before the season versus the week or two of data that we have once the season starts. In the case of Jordan Walker, though, I do think that, at age 23, with a good pedigree, clearly with elite power, any gains that he makes in contact / plate discipline, they're just going to be magnified because the tools are there, the ability is there, the ceiling is there. So cases like that, sure.
Yeah. Obviously, it's specific case by case. I also note that injury status is big. If you don't, we didn't spend a lot of money on a guy who was sort of injured. We didn't know, is he right, blah, blah, blah. But then he comes out and he's doing fine, not injured. Well, I can change my mind really quickly on that type of guy when I see, oh, he's healthy, he's back.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
But the thing is, I think it's different when it comes to pitchers. Hitters, I understand the lightning in the bottle. You don't want to spend the money, but sometimes pitchers, a lot of those guys do have some lasting power because of the fact they have three, 4 starts under their belt and they're showing some promise. I think I'm a little bit quicker to jump on the pitchers than the hitters.
Ruvain, do you have a maximum that you would spend on Fab for this early in the season? I mean, I guess closers might be a little bit different because, a closer goes down or you don't know and you got to lock them up and, maybe 10% is a good, spend or 15% maybe max. I'm wondering what it is for you, but do you have like a max on a hitter or a max on a starting pitcher of, okay, I can spend a lot in the first week is just like 7%. Do you have any maximum threshold?
Yes, yeah, 100%. For hitters, I say maybe $15 to $20 out of $1,000 budget. But in GDD this week, I actually picked up. I don't know if you saw this, but I picked up Jeffrey Springs and I spent 102 on him, and I was very aggressive on him. I've noticed the last couple of seasons that in that particular league or in some leagues, I usually have a lot of fab left over. But a starting pitcher, especially a guy like Jeffrey Springs, who we were high on a couple of years ago before he got hurt, so we know his stuff is good, and now it's actually there's no sign of injury. His velocity looks good. And so I think a player like that, I'm willing to spend a little bit more just because getting a starting pitcher later on in the season that has that type of quote unquote, you mentioned, Scott, you mentioned pedigree. Jeffrey Springs did do it before he got hurt. So what he is capable of. And the fact that he's available now, what other starting pitchers are you going to spend money on later in the season?
I think I go a little bit higher than the 1 to 2% that you mentioned on hitters, though. I think that I can go 3, 4, 5% also this early. What about you, Scott? Do you have any take on the maximum fab spend?
Yeah, I think hitters for me, it's 5 to 7% maximum. Like on a player like Connor Griffin, maybe a slightly lesser prospect like a Sam Antonacci, I might go 2 to 4%. Ruvain, I totally agree with you on the pitching side of things. I think it's much more likely that a pitcher might find something, quote, change the pitch mix, add some velocity, somehow figure out their release point so the control improves. I feel like they make big leaps more than hitters do typically. So I'd be willing to go even as much as 15 or 20%. I think I bid 144, so 14.4% on Schultz this week and didn't get him, didn't even really come close.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty close to you, Sky, on your maximums. That's the rough range. Guys who spend like 20 to 25% on anybody, I think that's way too much for this early in the year.
It's rash, yeah.
Yeah, that's a little bit of rash. Closer, though, I mean, it would have to be a really big situation, and it's really team dependent. If you lost Edwin Diaz and he's out for the year, let's just say, and they name a closer, and then I can see spending 20, even 30%. Depends on your specific team situation, Okay, so now the question, Sky, is you picked up a hot hitter, you picked up a Jordan Walker, you picked up Jorge Soler, somebody who's really rolling with it. How much do you keep rolling with that hot player in the active lineup? Like, I would assume maybe not for a pitcher, because maybe you pick up a pitcher just to have him in the team. Maybe you wait another start, or if he's playing the Dodgers, you say, all right, I'm going to pick him up, but I'll sit him. I assume that if you pick up a hot hitter, you're going to play him right away. How long do you roll with the guy, until he turns into a pumpkin, pretty much?
Well, the two guys you mentioned, I think that's kind of two different situations for me
Okay.
there, and I think that'll explain the range of my feelings. With Jordan Walker, good part of the age curve, clearly has a massive ceiling, had one major issue that's been holding him back. If that issue is ameliorated at all, I'm all in. I'm hanging on to him unless I see that continue to be a really persistent problem. If he has swinging strike rates that are down in the 13 or 14% range instead of 16 to 17 like he was before, that may not sound like much, but that is a massive, massive improvement, and it'll be leaps and bounds to his value. We've already seen it. But if it's a guy like Jorge Soler, who has an established track record, the odds of someone like Jorge Soler finding something different at this point in his career are really low. So I'm just going to ride him until I start to see the offers come in, the 3K performances, and then he's back out.
Makes sense. Ruvain, what about you on the pitching side? How long do you roll with a hot pitcher? I mean, you certainly don't want to wait until they hit the wall and bomb, right?
100%. But I mean, I'd more likely roll with a hot pitcher longer than I would roll with a pitcher who is cold. Because we were talking, and as we're taping this, Garrett Crochet is being lit up right now. When you have a pitcher who gets lit up and gives up such a high, if you're playing in not a weekly league or anything like that, but if you're playing in a year long league, though that one start or one or two starts, if you have one of those, it screws you for the rest of the season. It's so hard to bounce back from that from your as a team perspective. So the fact that you have a hot pitcher, you have to roll with them until they have at least they cool down a little bit, maybe two bad starts or something like that. But when you have a cold pitcher, I'd be willing to sit a lot quicker than a hot pitcher.
Since you mentioned Garrett Crochet, who's currently really struggling in his start right now, I think it's a good question to ask. Assuming it's not injury related, obviously anything can happen. They can say, "Oh, he's dealing with arm fatigue. He's dealing with blah blah." Then obviously you're going to sit him. But assuming he just starts his next start, how nervous are you to even start him? Is it an automatic start if you have Crochet, Sky?
I think he's still got to be an automatic start, right? I mean, there has to be sort of a consistent pattern of behavior. I didn't happen to check his velocity tonight, but that would be the one thing. If his
Right.
velocity was really down, then I would probably check the opponent next week, but it wasn't really. He was up in the 96 range. So I'm kind of just going to stick with him and chalk it up. Almost every pitcher is going to have one or two just awful outings during the year. The guys that don't are the ones that put the ERAs up around two, where you're like, oh, that's not repeatable. So most of them are going to have an outing or two. You chalk it up to a bad night and move on. If you see a few of them in a row, that's a different story.
Okay, rolling on with these great strategy questions. Next one, let's say you have a guy like Garrett Crochet have two bad outings in a row, three bad outings. What's the number of bad outings in a row where you say, okay, enough's enough, I got to stop? Now, obviously, at the very top, if you've got a Crochet, a Ski, and Scooble, you're going to give them a lot more rope. Two bad outings, you're probably still starting them. And then
Yes.
somewhere towards the bottom of your lineup, if they have one bad outing, you're probably going to stop them. You got Luis Castillo, who had two bad outings in a row. I'm already sitting him, right? Like, what is the range for you? Obviously, it really matters where in the curve you are, but what's your rough gauge for, okay, X bad outings, he goes to the bench?
Yeah, pretty much I think what you just outlined is about where I would be at. For your SP1s, I'm looking at least three bad outings, and I'd have to parse those outings out and see what the problems were too. Some of those this time of year, you could have a day like today in Wrigley or in Philly where the wind's blowing out a little bit and it's 75, a little bit of humidity, and it's like, all right, well, this is kind of like summer weather, so not great for pitching. Or you could, vice versa, you could have a series where like a hitter will go 0 for 12 with 11 Ks because it's 37 degrees and the wind chill's like 22, and anybody that hits the ball off center can't even feel their hands for the next two innings. I think that there's a lot of things underneath that matter. But also, like you said, back of the rotation, one bad outing, I'm out. And I'm not going to let it change my preconceived opinions coming into the season very much. But usually, like a guy like Luis Castillo, I was completely out there too. So if he has a bad outing, I'm much more inclined to just dump immediately.
The one good thing that comes with this, though, usually one of the pitchers who you drafted in the first, let's say, 5, 6 rounds, if they have two or three bad starts in a row, you don't have to make that decision because usually the team itself, like the Red Sox, will actually make the decision and get the pitcher checked out just in case, and then that's usually when we find something's going on. So usually you don't get to that point with the quote unquote elite pitchers or the upper tier pitchers. The lower pitchers usually they try to hide stuff if something's going on because they want to stay in the rotation, so you don't really learn about it as quickly.
That's a good point.
Okay. Let's move on with that. When do you consider benching pitchers for bad matchup play? So, somebody who's playing the Dodgers, that might be a little bit different of a case of playing the Rockies. If you have Chris Bassett and he's playing the Rockies, away from Coors, I don't know, you're probably starting him, right? But there's going to be some level of pitcher that, okay, they're going against the Dodgers, forget it. You'd have to be a certain line. What is that for you, Sky? Like, how do you incorporate matchups into your decision making?
I actually have a spreadsheet that I put together for my team every week to kind of just take a look at all of it on one piece of paper, so to speak, so that I can see who's matched up where, what kind of weather you're looking at, things like that, so I can make my decisions in the team context for each squad that I have. Obviously, your number one starters, I think you're just pretty much pitching them. Like on the one team, I've got Christopher Sanchez and Nolan McLean. I would be starting those guys even in Colorado. They're gonna go. But the guys at the back of your rotation, like I love setting my teams up to have 2 or 3 number one starters, and then a whole bunch of guys that are considered kind of number 4s and 5s, and just pick and choose what matchups I like the best each week.
Okay, moving.
Yeah, I think it's also based on the trend of how the pitcher is going. Like if a number 4 or 5 starter is actually trending well, I'd be a little more willing to do a risky start even against the Dodgers because if they're getting a lot of strikeouts, I'm willing to sometimes sacrifice ERA and WHIP for that 1 week just to get some strikeouts. I don't know how many strikeouts you can get for the Dodgers, but you know what I'm saying. So it's a matter of how much your team can handle bad ERA or bad WHIP for that week. Is it worth sacrificing that for the strikeouts and the possible maybe win that you may get?
Yeah, a lot of this is to be honest, it's not I don't want to be a cop out, but it really is team context dependent. If looks like I need some saves, then I'm gonna throw more saves in, and we're gonna cancel a lot more pitchers and so on and so forth. If I'm down in strikeouts, yeah, I might chance a guy who's going to be with a bad matchup because I need to make up the strikeouts. Things like that. It's somewhat context dependent.
And league dependent too. Like, Ariel, you and I have talked about this a bunch of times. You're just not really penalized in the tout head-to-head format for bad starts like you are in other formats. So I went with Foster Griffin when he was starting against the Dodgers just because I had a spot, and I mean, what's he going to get? -5 at the worst? The upside's 20? Why not?
Right. And even, in like daily leagues, or I should say, week to head-to-head weeks, but with daily lineups, your last day of the week, I mean, you do anything if, I'm down by 10 strikeouts, what the hell? We'll throw all the Rockies pitchers in there if they're available because
Exactly.
I need those strikeouts,
Exactly. It's totally
dependent. I don't know about that. But yeah.
Well, like for example, if you're already going to lose ERA and WHIP, but you have a chance to win wins and Ks, you throw them in there.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, everything is so contextual with that kind of decision making, I think.
That's correct. All right, before we go on to specific players to talk about, anybody else want to add anything in terms of, what are you doing the first 2 weeks? I guess I'll just add, you got to be patient. Patience is a virtue. Don't make rash decisions because Josh Naylor had a terrible week and a half. By the way, he had 2 homers today. You got to really be patient.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, like I said, and like both of you have said in the past, why would you let 8 to 10 weeks of research be superseded by 7 to 14 days of numbers?
Right.
It's a marathon, not a sprint, so you shouldn't.
There you go. And if you're making a decision, like people ask me questions, hey, Ariel, should I drop this guy for this guy? Picture our voices in your head saying patience. Right? Think about it. What's the opportunity cost? You're giving away this guy. You spent a lot of draft capital. You did a lot of research. Give it time. All right. But let's talk about specific players because it is player dependent and situation dependent. So we'll get through a bunch of names. But before we do that, it's time for the Injury Gurus Trivia of the Week.
So as we're going to go through some of these players, we're going to be talking about players, possible pitchers we'll start with, who are maybe droppable in some formats. Now, one guy we're going to talk about is Brandon Pfaadt. Brandon Pfaadt, actually, I was looking at his page, he only throws his traditional fastball 10% of the time, and that's the 9th least among MLB starters. 3 pitchers don't throw a straight fastball altogether. Can you name the 3 qualifying MLB starters who do not throw a straight regular fastball?
Oh boy,
this is really tough. But I'll give you a hint. One of them was already mentioned on this pod.
Sky, any guesses?
And he's really
I don't
good.
have the slightest clue.
And he's really good. Christopher Sanchez. He does not throw a straight fastball. Framber Valdez does not throw a straight fastball. And Steven Matz don't throw. Other guys on the list who throw less than the actual amount, you're talking about Eric Fetty, Foster Griffin, Jansen Junk, Logan Gilbert throws it and doesn't throw it as much as anybody else. Noah Karen, Aaron Savali, and Brandon Pfaadt happens to be number 9 on this list of throwing the least amount, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because I think at this point, Brandon Pfaadt, we know what he is. He's a 5 ERA guy with a 1.3 whip. I mean, Sky, is he even rosterable anymore? Is he the new Colorado Rocky type pitcher where you don't want to even touch him?
Yeah, I'm always colored on my opinion of Brandon because I was at his last start of the year when the Diamondbacks needed him to put up a really good outing against the Padres 2 years ago, and he was brilliant. It was one of the best pitching performances I've ever seen, albeit only about 5 1/3 innings. He struck out 9 or 10 guys. He looked unhittable. And I always look at that and I say, well, that was a pretty good hitting team, and it was an important game, and he was dominant. Where is that guy? But boy, we've had a year plus now of him just really swinging strike rates down, walk rates up. He's always had home runs as an issue, and the stuff just looks a little less sharp each year the last 2 years. I'm out completely on Fought. I can't get behind it anymore.
Ariel, not even a matchup play?
I'm holding on to him if I'm in a mono league. I'm holding on to him if I'm in a 15-team mixed. I'm probably drop. I actually have him in Tout Wars, the head-to-head 12-team. I did not drop him this week, but I probably won't be playing him, and I probably will. Well, actually, I've got some players coming back from the IL who will start later this week or so he might be gone in the middle of the week. Let's put it that way, in 12-team. Okay. Let's a couple of other pitchers to talk about. We'll just talk about each of them briefly with quick decision-making. Kodai Senga, I think, Sky, you mentioned you're going to hold. You're going to forget about his, the actual ERA. His velocity's up. Hold him for more. Are you playing him, though?
I would play him, and I actually would go so far as to say that he's an acquisition target for me.
Okay.
The control is always a little suspect, but his velo's up, swing strike rate's up, and he has just ridiculously high BABIP and ridiculously low strand rate now, so a lot of this is luck-based. His xFIP is 333, despite the difficult outings that he's had. I'm fully on the Senga train this year as far as what I have seen so far.
But do you think going from a 6-man rotation to a 5-man rotation is going to affect him at all?
I don't think so. I think that they were doing that really just to protect him last year coming back from injury. I feel like he's able to pitch more. He threw 166 innings in 2023, and some people might say that that's why he broke, but I don't think that that's the case. And he had a sub-3 ERA. He's a very good pitcher.
Yeah, no, I'm still having him. I'm probably sitting him in 10-team mixed leagues. 12, it depends on the situation. 15, I think you're still playing him right now. There's no league I'm dropping him in right now.
Correct.
Okay. What about Roki Sasaki? I'm out. I don't have a need to put him on my roster. If you're in a mono league, sure, you'll keep him. Otherwise, I don't really. I don't have any shares of him to begin with. So,
where did the guy go from the 23 WBC?
I don't know.
This is not the same guy.
Nah.
No. Well, listen, he's trying to be a starting pitcher. He only has 3 pitches, really, and he just seems like a better relief pitcher than a starting pitcher. Although the Dodgers keep pushing to be a starter, and they're paying him like a starter, and it would be like egg on their face if they had to put him into the bullpen.
Yeah, it's true, but his control has gotten so much worse, and I don't know how much of that Lou Blasi and I always talk about whether it's inability or fear. And I wonder if it's just he's gotten hit around for the first time in his career and he just doesn't want to come in the zone as much anymore.
Yeah, I'm totally out. Luis Severino, I don't have him on anywhere. I don't even know why he's rostered other than some strikeouts with high ERA. I mean, he's like a Rockies pitcher to me.
Yeah, the sliders never really come back from his 2018-19 injury problem. I'm out completely. Even though the velo's back up this year and the Ks per 9 are back up, swing strike rate's still below average. The walk rate is huge. I'm just not interested, really. Something would have to change. From what I'm seeing right now, I'm not interested at all.
And his first 3 starts were on the road. They weren't even in Sacramento yet. And was it
In that
They weren't in
yeah.
Sacramento yet. So the fact that he's on the road and he's doing this, what's going to happen when he's at home?
Oh, good call.
Okay, last one to talk about for dropping a closer, or some people thought with a closer, Griffin Jacks. I mean, he was on the list of very possible closer targets. He wasn't very expensive, of course. We didn't know if he was the guy, and so far, Are we keeping him? This is more of a role question.
I mean, Tampa Bay is always sort of predisposed to go committee unless they have one clear-cut guy. And I think it's very evident through 7 games for Griffin Jacks that he is not a clear-cut guy there. So I don't see any reason for him to be rostered except the deepest of formats at this point.
What about Dennis Santana though? Because Santana seemed to have lost his role, even though he's not pitching that poorly. He just lost his role.
I picked up Giovanni Soto everywhere.
Yeah. Okay, there's the answer.
Yeah. I think. I've been holding on to him in the NFBC 15-team leagues, but yeah, it's probably a cut right now. Okay, let's talk about some hot pitchers. Can we keep them for the long haul, or is this a Cinderella thing? And we'll start with this guy who I have, I think, in 75% of my leagues. ATC was a very high option. Jose Soriano, best pitcher in baseball right now. I'm curious to hear your thoughts, Sky.
You know, I was huge on Soriano. I own him in 80% of my leagues this year.
Wow.
Well, he was one of those things it was like the Jordan Walker situation, sort of, where if this one thing improves, he's going to be outstanding. And for Jordan Walker, it was clearly the ability to make contact. It's not that he doesn't know what a ball or strike is, it's whether he can hit it or not. With Jose Soriano, it was the walk rate. And if he could get his walk rate, I said this exact thing on a podcast twice in the last 12 months. If he could get his walk rate down around 3 per 9, he's an ace. And what's his walk rate right now? 3 per 9. 60+% ground ball rate. The stuff is just filthy. If you watch him pitch, it's amazing that people can hit it at all. Chase rate's up, swinging strike rate's up. And last year, as many people as he walked, his xFIP was still 354. So I absolutely am a believer here, 100%.
Yeah. And the ERA estimators obviously are not going to be at .33, which is the ERA. They're all sub 3. They're all 2.5, 2.75. So he's definitely there. The one comment that Nick Pollock would make, as he sort of poo-pooed Jose Soriano when we brought him up as an ATC undervalued pitcher, is that he has a very high ground ball rate, which normally you would say is amazing, but the Angels don't have really good defense. Do you see that as a problem?
I don't. I don't, because I just feel like he's able to miss bats enough that it wasn't a question of guys have to hit ground balls against him. It was a question of he wanted to pitch deeper into games, and especially with the control issues that he had, he needed to pitch to contact more. He's with the control improvement, I think that he can afford to go for the Ks a little bit more now, which he has been doing. So I don't think that defense is going to be quite as critical as it perhaps was in the past for him.
Yeah.
But right now his strand rate is a ridiculously high number, so that is going to come back down to earth a little bit. I mean,
the ERA is not going to be .33.
Well,
so, yeah.
I understand that also, but still, I mean, even if he goes down to even 70% of what he's doing right now, he's a 1A starter for the rest of the year.
Yeah. This could be the biggest bargain in all of fantasy this year for pitchers, I think. Very possibly. Sandy Alcantara. He's not as kind with the ERA estimators. They have him closer to 4. Strikeout rates, he's never been a great strikeout pitcher. More of it, he goes deep into games. His walk rate is down. Fastball velo, not gaining. He's down. Miami will get more wins, I think, than in the past. I don't think Miami's that bad a team. I'm not as high on Sandy to be back where, oh my God, Sandy Alcantara, although I think he's definitely a very good, viable pitcher, even in 12-team format. So I'd say for him, this is a temporary expectations, but you'll be happy mostly with the results the whole year. You agree, Sky?
Yeah, I do. I think that if you take this year and extrapolate it, the 30 innings we've seen so far, and then pin the last 5 years up next to each other, 21, 22, 23, 25, and 26, 25 is the clear outlier. Like, nothing there lines up with anything else that he's done, really, in his career. I don't think he's going to go back to the glory days of 21 to 23. I don't think the stuff is quite as sharp as it was back then. But the swing strike rate's back up, the walk rate's back down. I think he'll be a perfectly credible mid-rotation kind of a guy this year.
Yep. Ruvain?
Yeah, and his control rate his control is what you want to see, and the fact that he actually got rid of his curveball and is throwing a cutter now, which is also interesting. He changed his pitch mix just a little bit, and that little tweak may have helped with his control a little bit.
All right, Ruben, we'll go to you first. Emerson Hancock. Wow, he's also been lights out. What do you think?
His K rate's a little bit higher than normal. He's been a little bit lucky, but he also has the prospect pedigree that this guy talked about. He's using the cutter more. He's almost not using his changeup at all anymore. He's using his sinker less. So he's actually using his pitch mix a little bit different, and I think that's what's that's what's getting him going. Plus, he doesn't have the stress right now in the beginning of the season of being the top prospect, having to make it out of spring training. He knew he had the spot this year. Last year, it was a question about what was going on, and he is their quote unquote top pitching prospect. And right now, he's pitching like it. So I think he's a guy I would actually hold on to, and because of the pedigree, I think he's a guy you should try to trade for.
I mean, Hancock, he is a 5% walk rate right now this year, 31% strikeout rate. He doesn't throw all that hard, like 94, 95, but it's actually up from previous years. So I'm optimistic about Hancock. Don't have him anywhere, but I think he can keep this up. Mariners know what they're doing with pitching.
Oh, yeah.
Who would you rather have rest of season, Sandy Alcantara or Emerson Hancock?
Alcantara.
Alcantara.
Okay. Yeah, I think so.
Track record.
Track record. Could be close. Not that far away. All right. This guy I have mixed feelings on. Taj Bradley, who's been fantastic. The thing that I point to, though, is his whip is 1.25, and he's been like a high 1.3 whip pitcher all his life. So we're talking about high strikeout, high whip. Remember Chris Archer? Really that type of profile. The ERA estimators right now are at 3, but I think he profiles more like a 3.754 ERA pitcher. I'm not the kind of guy I love on my rosters, and he's walking 9-10% right now. So I'm mixed bag, and he's on Minnesota. He's not going to win that many games. I'd say I would trade him right now. To me, he's not a drop, obviously, but I try to trade him. Do you agree, Sky?
I do 100%. I think you've still got below average control. The ground ball rate, the exit velocity allowed, they're poor. And yet he hasn't allowed a home run yet through 4 starts, which is shocking given his problems with the long ball in the past. I don't think that's going away. I think that'll rear its ugly head again before too long. I completely agree with you. I think maybe he can be a sub 4 ERA pitcher, but I think it's more likely he'll be around 4. He's okay. Like you say, not droppable, but I would absolutely try to capitalize on this hot start.
Okay, Ruven?
Yeah, I totally agree. And the fact that he has 3 wins now only boosts his trade value. So this is where you can get the most value out of him.
Okay, let's also do Mackenzie Gore. Sky, what do you think about his 40% strikeout rate?
I love Mackenzie Gore, so I'm a little biased here, and I don't even have him on any. I don't think I have him in a single league this year. But the control improvement here, much like with Jose Soriano on a slightly lesser basis, any control improvement is magnified by just the sheer raw stuff that he has that's high quality. Yes, he's been very fortunate so far, 82% strand rate, 233 BABIP. Those are numbers that will regress. But, boy, the velocity's back up to where it was 2 years ago. He's made steady improvement during his 3 years with a really not very good Washington Nationals team. He's with a better team in Texas now. I think that he's going to have a very good year. Maybe not an SP1 type of year, but I think he could be a top 25 starter.
Gives up some homers, though. I think he's... I'm not going to say Noah Syndergaard, but I always thought that Noah Syndergaard was fantastic, but he would come up with that one start where it would be a big bump and he would give up like 6 earned runs, and that would sort of kill his overall stats for the year. I get that kind of feeling with him, like just a high strikeout rate, but the bumps where he's just going to have a bad outing. I don't know. Did you get that feeling, Ruvain?
Yeah, and the only thing I'd be concerned about is a lot of leagues have quality starts. He doesn't really always get you that quality start. He'll go 5 and a third, 5 and 2/3. He may go 6 because he is striking out a lot of guys, but that brings his pitch count up. And I think if you have a league where you have quality starts, he's a little bit of an outlier in that he looks like he would give you the quality start, but he's not really getting to where he needs to, and then just leaving it for that Texas Ranger bullpen, which is a little bit questionable questionable. I would say, and hope he get wins out of that. I mean, I think this is a guy you actually sell high at this point. I don't think I want on the rest of the year only because the Rangers aren't supposed to be that great. Yes, he'll get some wins, but pitching like this and pitching only five and 2/3, and not being able to have a solid bullpen behind you will harm him.
Sky, you think he's buy, sell, or hold?
I actually make my handwritten notes all the time when I'm doing this stuff. I'm holding. I think that my expectations were for him to be kind of in that 22 to 27 range among starters this year, and he looks like he's well on his way to that for me right now. But Ruvain makes a good point. He is still a little bit inefficient as far as getting deep enough into games for something like that. So it always does depend on the scoring format as to his actual value.
Right. All right, let's talk about hot starts from hitters. We're not going to go in-depth into every one of them, but let's very quickly buy, sell, hold on these, and if you want to give some commentary, sure. Let's go with O'Neal Cruz. I was staying away from him, but obviously he's been hot as hell. Buy, sell, or hold?
Hold. This is ceiling level performance, but clearly the tools are ridiculous.
Ruvain?
He did definite hold for now. If he keeps the batting average above 330, I think he's going to be a sell high because that's not going to last the whole season.
I'm going to go with sell because of the name recognition value and my 6 to 8 weeks of prep, Sky.
Love it.
All right, Christian Walker, buy, sell, hold. Ruvain?
Buy, 100% buy. His power is real. We know he can hit home runs. He's a little bit more comfy where he is now in Houston. It's the second year of a 3-year deal. Sometimes when players start a new contract, a la Pete Alonso, sometimes they don't perform right away and they start to press and everything like that. And Christian Walker probably did that last year. He's a little bit more comfortable, so he's a definite buy for me.
He's a buy for me. Sky?
He's a hold for me. I think that he's one of the more consistent players in baseball. 25 to 35 homers, 85 to 105 RBIs, 235 to 255 average. That's what you're going to get from Walker. He's just had an abnormally fortunate batting average so far that is not really supported by the underlying. So I think he won't perform this well the rest of the year, but he's a solid player.
I mean, for me, he's a power play that gives you a corner infielder in a 15-team league format, and for that, he's a buy. But he's for anything
durable too.
Durable, right? Shallower than that, probably not relevant yet. I think. All right, Chase DeLauder. I don't know what to do with prospects in general, so I'll take it from you guys. Sky, buy, sell, hold. Chase DeLauder.
I'm buying. I think that the only issue with him ever was health. If he is healthy, he hits. He looks like a power guy, especially when you watch him bat, but he has very good plate discipline, very good to excellent contact ability, very good power, probably average minus speed. He's not really going to be a base stealer, but he's not a plotter either. This kid is an excellent hitter, and he's still only 24.
Sorry, your answer is for redraft format, right? Because obviously with these prospects, the question is really, both for this year, but for, dynasty type things also.
100% for dynasty and for redraft. I think Chase DeLauder is a buy.
All right, Ruvain?
I think for redraft, I think he's a sell right now. I mean, look how many home runs he has already in any level so far. I know he's only 24, but in any level so far in his career, he's only hit 8 home runs as a max for the entire year. The fact that he has half of that already doesn't make any sense to me. Yes, he has power, and he can show it, but the thing is it doesn't extrapolate for an entire year. So I'd actually, for a redraft, you could probably get a lot because he's a prospect, because he's young, and because he's the shiny new thing. You could probably get more from him in a trade.
All right, Jordan Walker. I was 1 week too late. He's a buy.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think okay. Definitely. We talked about it a couple times, like for sure. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right. Let's go with one of our old favorites, Josh Bell. Sky, are you buying? Because he had a very good start in I'd say new squad, although he's been to Minnesota before, right?
Well, maybe for a month or two, maybe. I don't know. I don't think of all the teams he was with, I don't think he actually hit Minnesota. But Josh Bell's a professional hitter.
Was he not on Minnesota? Did I make that up?
I don't think he hit Minnesota.
Ruvain, did I make that up?
I would have to look up. I mean, it seems like he's stopped everywhere already. He's becoming like
Right.
there are a couple of pitchers who play for every team, and he's one of them. But let's see, he's been in Pittsburgh, Washington. He was in Minnesota this year. He was in two teams in 2022, two teams in 2023, two teams in 2024.
Oh my God, I
So,
did make
Washington,
that
yep.
up. He was never on Minnesota. Wow.
well, yeah,
Why in the world did
yeah.
I think he was on Minnesota before?
But
Well, he was everywhere but, so
the crazy thing right now is that he's not in a platoon. He's actually played in every single game this year. So Minnesota's using him and he's performing. So he's one of these hot guys that you know what? If they're playing him every day, he's not a platoon guy. People thought going to the season he'd be a platoon guy. If he's not, he'd have to be a buy guy, and he's not even going to cost you that much because it's Josh Bell.
Okay, Sky?
yeah, I mean, he's definitely a hold for me. I just feel like Josh Bell, much like Christian Walker, is going to hit somewhere around 250. Right now, he's got a BABIP of 344, which, by the way, would be 40 points above his career best, and the guy's been in the league for 11 years. So, yeah, I mean, a little honeymoon period here. He's a massive launch angle pull guy, which those types of players just are not going to hit for average because they're very easy to deploy defensively against. But he's going to give you power. He's sitting in the middle of that lineup, which it's an okay lineup. It's better than people think. He's a perfectly good hitter.
I think that in a standard mixed league, he's a hold. Don't know that anybody's going to buy him there. I think he's a little bit of a sell in a mono league because he's striking out 27% right now. He is walking, but he's striking out. He's not barreling the ball. He's only at 8%, I guess, which is what he usually does. So he's not. If you think he's going to go off, he's not. Right? He's just his usual, 18 homer type guy. Again, deep league, I think I'd sell if I can get anything for him. But in a mixed league, I'm going to hold because he's just doing what he wants, and that's what you want out of the corner infield spot. Who'd you rather have rest of season, Christian Walker or Josh Bell?
Walker.
I think Walker by a very little bit.
Walker.
It's close, right? It's close.
I think so. They're similar players.
Let's talk about Chandler Simpson. Buy, sell, or hold. Sky.
I'm selling. But it's mostly just my predisposition to not like these guys. I mean, he's the return of Juan Pierre. Literally, he's the just same
He's
player.
going to have a near 300 average, right? It's not unnormal for him to do. He's batting 400 now, but to say that will he be a 300 hitter? Probably. And will he steal a zillion bases? Well,
Yeah.
if he's in the majors, he will. So.
Yep. Yeah, but unlike Juan Pierre, he's actually pretty bad defensively, which is amazing for a guy with his speed. But I could see the Rays getting a little bit sour on him if he goes through a slump because of that. Still, he's probably going to hit 300 and steal 60 bases and score 70, 75 runs at least. So, he's perfectly useful. Just to me, he has zero upside.
I mean, 80 stolen base upside I think he's got upside.
But that's what you paid for, right? I mean,
Well,
if we're talking about. Go ahead.
That's the whole reason why he was drafted, because people thought he would steal. The only question was whether he'd be able to hit enough to stay in the majors. He is, so he should be a hold because he's doing exactly what you expect or hoped you get out of him. And at this point, I don't think he's going to be sent to the minors. So I'd play the hot hand as long as you can play it.
I just feel like there's people out there that get, especially in category-based leagues, that just get desperate for steals. And this guy is only going to offer you good performance in two categories, decent performance in one, and nothing in two.
I'm glad we disagree on this one, by the way.
Okay.
But, well, let me ask you: is this peak trading value? Since you want to sell Sky, is this peak trading value, or in 2 weeks from now, is it even going to be higher?
Well, I mean, he's on pace for about 80 steals, and he's hitting over 400. Do I think he'll ever be better than that? No. So I guess this would be peak trading value.
But I mean, the person trading for him is going to know that this is his peak, and they're going to have to overpay for him. So I think in order to trade him, you'd have to, I think his value has to come down a little bit because otherwise the asking price is going to be too high.
I think the trade value doesn't come, though, from the fact of his play, more of as you get further into a season, and if a team in a roto league is in a hole in stolen bases, the need for stolen bases becomes more apparent, and the value for Simpson on that team becomes higher. So I think you're right. He's not going to do better pace than he's doing right now, but I think the trading value was going to go even more. For that reason, I don't think he's at all a sell. I think he's a hold. It's funny. I never thought this type would come up as an ATC bargain, but before the season, he came up as an ATC bargain for a guy who's going to steal, a high amount and has 80 stolen base upside. He was actually showing as undervalued by ATC, which surprised me. I don't have any shares of him because it's very hard to roster a guy like that, but he's doing what he's advertised, and the only question is playing time. If you're telling me that there's playing time, I put it this way, Sky. If I told you he's going to be in the majors through the All-Star break, does that change your answer?
Well, your point is accurate that people will get more desperate and more in need of steals as time goes on. You're just hoping that he continues to get on base enough and be successful stealing enough that he can maintain some semblance of pace. I think that this pace is too much for him, in my opinion.
But the only way he stays in the majors if he continues to get on base. If he doesn't get on base, he's not going to be in the majors by the All-Star break, which proves Ariel's point, but also proves your point.
If you're guaranteeing me that he's in the majors, then I think that he has to be worth this much at that point at least. And because the need will be greater, then it would be greater to hold on to him through that point and then try to deal him. But I'm just not convinced that will be the case.
Good discussion here. No, this was a fun one for Simpson. Do we think that Simpson is going to lead the majors in stolen bases?
Yes.
Okay.
Probably.
To me, if that's the case, he's definitely a hold or buy.
Yeah,
I think.
Okay.
But yeah, all right. Let's talk about the last two here: Max Muncy and Max Muncy. Both of them are actually hot. I know the Dodgers' Max Muncy was ice cold until he had 3 homers in one game. The Athletics' Max Muncy has been hot. Yeah, what do you think of those two, Sky?
Well, the Dodgers' Max Muncy, when I talked earlier about what things I look at early in the season, one of the biggest things that I think you can start looking at just 2 or 3 weeks in is the aggression level of hitters. And Max Muncy's swing percentage is up for the 6th year in a row. His chase and swing strike rates are up. He's the kind of hitter that is almost painfully passive at times. And I think that has hampered him getting to his power in the past at times. I think that if he maintains this level of aggression, yes, the batting average is probably going to come back down towards that 210, 200 level that he's shown in the past. But that 35 to 40 homer upside is there too. And in that lineup, runs and RBIs are plentiful for everyone. So I like Max Muncy, the elder.
Okay, Ruvain?
You know what you're getting with Max Muncy, the elder, as you put it, Sky, because he's very streaky. He'll hit home runs in bunches, and he'll go ice cold for a long period of time. So you're really knowing what you're going to get. But I mean, he has already 25% of his home runs from last year already this year just because of 2 games. Everything else, he has, a single here, a double here, a lot of games where he goes hitless. So, he's a very streaky player. The other Max Muncy is a little bit more interesting to me. He's hitting for a little bit of power, which we didn't expect. He's matched his stolen base total from last year, albeit it's 1. But he's a guy who I'm looking, if he's going to get the playing time, he can go 10-15 with a decent batting average, and if he does that, I think he's well worth the price that was paid for him.
Both are holds for me for different reasons. I just didn't think that we'd see both of them on this list. That's pretty cool. All right, let's do this one quickly. How long till you bench? How long till you drop? Let's talk in 12-team Roto mixed league format, okay? 12-team mixed Roto redraft league only. How long do you bench? How long do you drop? All right, ready? First one, Pete Alonso.
Oh, bench, drop, probably in perpetuity. I'm hanging on. There's just too much track record here.
He's a definite play. Yeah, by the way, he homered today again for the 2nd time. So you never know. He's also a streaky homer hitter. So he's a play. I don't think you can ever bench him.
You're not benching or dropping him. Francisco Lindor. Now, this one is interesting. He's not a drop, obviously. How long? Probably never. But Francisco Lindor, how long until you bench? He's shown these cold things. The question also is the hamate bone. How much do you think it's still affecting him? Ruvain, are you benching him yet?
I would not bench him because he still may have some value in stolen bases, which he has none so far, which is a little bit concerning also. And he doesn't even look like he's even trying to steal when he's on base. His head doesn't look like he's in the game. They've actually mentioned it. He's had some gaffes in the field, which is completely un-Lindor-like. There's something going on. I don't think he's completely healed from the hamate bone. I think he came back a little bit too early. And the problem with these hamate bone issues is that it zaps power to begin with, and usually you're not going to see the power till the second half of the season. This is a guy you can't sit, you can't drop, you have to play, and you just have to hope that over time things just start to turn around very slowly.
You agree, Sky?
Yeah, I do. I think Ruvain's spot on, and then you compound that with the fact that Lindor is historically a very slow starter. April's his worst month of the year, so you've got that plus the fact that I think he's not fully confident in his physical health yet. It's Will Carroll described it as the hitter just doesn't want to trust the release of the hands to snap the bat through the zone, so they just kind of guide it, and you see bat speed down, power's down. I think he'll heat up probably in about a month and a half. If you wanted to bench him, I wouldn't argue with you because it's unlikely that he gives you a ton before that, but it's going to happen. And do you really want to miss the week or two that it starts to happen in?
Yeah. All right. We'll do two more at the high level. Josh Naylor. Obviously he's you're starting him right now, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
100%.
Ketel Marte, interesting one. I think he's another one like Alonso that you're not even benching at all.
No, definitely not. He's another guy like Lindor that historically April is by far his worst month of the year. Exit velocity is really good. 217 BABIP with a 25% line drive rate. That's inordinately unlucky. And of course, he hit 2 home runs tonight too. So.
Did he really?
I was about to say everyone on we
great.
put up this list who are slow starters seem to be hitting. Why couldn't we make this list like a week earlier?
Yeah, right.
You know,
Okay,
that would
great.
have helped everybody.
I've got a lot of Ketel Marte, so
Yes.
I'm
yes.
glad to hear this one. All right. Well, we're doing these again for you guys who are listening to give you the gamut of things, and we're going to talk about fringe guys, but it's worth having a discussion about the hot guys because at some point you got to have that discussion. All right, we're going to go to the opposite end now, more towards the bottom. How long do you bench? How long do you drop? What about Addison Barger, Sky?
I really like this kid, but right now he sprained both ankles last week, so clearly he's benched right now, but I don't drop him yet. There's so much power potential here, and he has looked to me like he's getting better every season. Right now we only have 19 at-bats of data, so that's just nothing to me. So I'm holding for now, but not starting.
Okay, and like another month till you drop, maybe?
Yeah, if he comes back and isn't good for 2 weeks, which
Right.
I think he's back next week, so yeah, 3 weeks.
Okay, makes sense. I agree, Ruben.
Well, he was in a walking boot over the weekend. He just came out of the walking boot for one ankle. I'm sure it affected the way he was playing, the way he was playing the field and everything like that. But I mean, his one for I think it's 1 for 23. I think it's the official number. His BABIP is 071. He's got a huge uppercut swing. He's at an 18% launch angle when he does actually make contact, which is great if you're making contact. And the problem is he's not. And if you need an outfielder, and he's maybe your fourth, fifth outfielder, sixth outfielder, I think he may even be an expendable piece. I think he can be dropped because no one's running to pick up Addison Barger next week.
Okay, so he's batting 1 for 23. The question is, at your peak baseball ability, both Sky and Ruvain, you're facing Taiwan Walker. Okay,
Zero.
Are you
My answer is
batting
zero.
more than 1 for 23?
No,
No.
I am not.
Zero.
I might be able to get one, but at this age, probably not. 20
No,
years
no, no,
ago,
no, no, not
decent
this
chance.
age. We're talking peak Sky
Oh.
Dombroske for whenever in your 20s, whenever it was.
Peak Sky
Batting more than
Dombroske
that.
against current Taiwan Walker.
Against current Taiwan Walker, right?
I'm going to give it even odds that I could equal Addison Barger's batting average, but not his slugging percentage because, well, I don't know. I was pretty fast back then.
I can't hit my son's fastball right now. So the fact that I can't do that, I just, it's impossible. It's so hard to do what these players do. And the fact that he's struggling, okay, I understand that. But he's a major league player. But fantasy-wise, how long can you have him taking up a roster spot? That's the question.
I would say peak Ariel Cohen, if I played the game of baseball, meaning I didn't work and I would work out during the day, I would do better than 1 for 23 as an average for the season. If obviously I didn't play professional ball, No, I would not have beaten that if I didn't. But I think at my peak physical career, I would have done better than that for the season. Not much better.
That's peak physical career. O'Neal Cruz playing center field and the San Francisco Giant infield. Put that all together, and then you'll get a hit. There you go.
I said Taiwan Walker to give you like a league replacement level star.
Yeah, I understand. I understand.
All right, Sal Frelick. How long till you bench? How long till you drop? I've got a lot of shares of Frelick. Sky.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably benching him now. I might give him another week or two before the drop. But Frelick's another guy that is supposed to be a high floor, low ceiling kind of a player. And when he's doing this, that totally torpedoes what you got him for, which is to give you some sort of floor and batting average. Because he has no power. He's bottom decile bat speed, bottom decile exit velocity. I'm close to cutting him.
Because, like, in a 15-team league, the answer is different in a 15-team league. In a 12-team league, it's a bench, and I'm close to cutting him. In a 15-team league, I think I might even still be playing him. Depends on the situation.
12-team, I'm actually going to drop him. He's one of 6 lefties in that lineup. So I think if you're not hitting and you're a lefty, I think he's expendable only because the Brewers want to have another righty in there somewhere, just because of that fact. And the fact that he's not hitting, yes, he's good. He's a good defensive. He's a pretty good defensive player, and so he'll play. But the thing is, there's 6 lefties in that lineup. The fact I was looking at him, I'm like, how's that even possible? And if he's not hitting, why would you have that 6th one instead of having a little more balance and putting a righty up there?
And he's been really bad defensively so far this year and hasn't attempted a steal.
Right, yes.
So maybe something's wrong.
That's possible also.
Let's go with Caleb Durbin. I've got mixed emotions about him because, theoretically I would just cut him right away, but who the hell is taking over for his spot in Boston? Like, I feel like they're going to give him a little bit more rope. I just cut him in a 12-team mixed, actually in GDD. I just cut him the other day. I have better options, though.
Oh, really? Really? Okay, good.
Oh, are you picking him up now?
Yes. Did you see what the Red Sox are doing now? They moved him in the batting order from 6th to batting 2nd the last 3 games, and he got a hit today. So the fact they're moving up in the lineup, they're trying to jumpstart him, and you never know. I think this is a guy that has some hidden talent and some stolen bases that you can get instead of. I'd rather play Caleb Durbin than Sal Frelick.
So I mean, again, to me, it's the situation with him, and I think the Red Sox are going to give him more rope. And as you're saying, even moving him up in the batting lineup, which is a good sign. To me, it was situation dependent on my team. I have Bo Bichette, who just now got the third base eligibility. So I sort of, when I drafted him knowing that he was my guy for the first 2 weeks, and now Bichette takes over. So it really depends. And again, it's not a 15-team league, it's a 12-team league. So in my situation, I cut him. But I have mixed feelings. Sky, maybe you can break the tie here.
Well, I treat Caleb Durbin like a poor man's Sal Frelick. Does that answer the question at all? I mean, he's a very similar player with slightly less quality plate discipline and contact, very little power. Bad luck and mediocre ability is not a great 12-teamer.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move on. Isaac Paredes. He's done nothing. Ruvain, what are you doing? How long till you bench? How long till you drop?
I think I'm benching, but I'm not dropping because of the Jeremy Pena injury. They're moving Carlos Correa to short, and Paredes will get more playing time. He's also he's a streaky hitter. He'll hit home runs in bunches. So I think he's a hold, not a drop. And as soon as he starts to heat up just a little bit, I'm sticking him in my lineup.
Yeah, I'm benching for the time being, and I'm giving him 2 more weeks and then cutting. What about you, Sky?
That sounds about right. Paredes is such a weird player because he's just massive fly ball pull, good contact ability, but he just hits fly balls to left field all the time without a lot of power. So I would have thought when he went to Houston, I was like, oh man, it's perfect for him. He's going to hit 40 home runs there with that goofy uppercut Alex Bregman sort of swing, and he just has been bad. I'm sort of befuddled by it because it feels like that park would be perfect for him, and it's been the exact opposite.
Ongoing theme, Paredes had 2 hits today.
He is never on a team of mine. I don't think he's ever been on a team of mine. Somehow the sum always is greater than the parts with him, and I just don't like what I see underlying ever.
Ruben, I should have then put everybody on my team who's not hitting on this list, and then
look who we're talking about next. Trent Grisham. He just hit a pinch hit 3-run home run today.
Yes.
I took him out of the lineup, so I benched him in labor. Go me. I benched him for who did I picked up somebody. I think I picked up Mauricio Debon, just because he's like a Swiss Army knife, good to have in low bench leagues. But I did not drop Trent Grisham. I'm benching him. But I don't know. I guess look, if he then goes off and has 2 homers or 2 hits or whatever today, I'm not sad. I'm happy, right? Because if I still have him in the team, I'm happy because great. I'll play him next week, right?
Yeah, Trent Grisham, man. I mean, you could just look at the StatCast expected data, which is almost identical to his last year's performance before today's home run. He's fine. He just has had really bad luck so far. 171 BABIP. Guy is a surprisingly good contact hitter for the averages that he's posted over the years. And he's got elite plate discipline, good exit velocity. He's just a very sound player. I like him very much. He's terrible in center field, though.
Maybe I shouldn't have benched him for Mauricio Dubon. Well, whatever. All right, you make some mistakes, but you never know. Okay, don't tell me this guy has gone off, Ruvain. Colton Cowser, has he gone off today?
He did reach base once today, so no. But I mean, but he is a guy whose his walk rate is up, his K rate is down right now, and the fact that very few people are actually hitting right now in the Baltimore lineup until today, I guess. The fact that that's happening, I think he's a definite hold. He would not be a drop.
Is he a buy for you, Sky?
I don't know about a buy. There just looks like there's something wrong with the kid. But Ruvain's right. I mean, first of all, people aren't hitting in Baltimore. But second of all, do they even have anybody else to play center field?
That's a good question.
I mean, that outfield is like 5 left fielders.
They have so many injuries. They're dealing with so many injuries on that team right now also. So.
Yeah, I think he's going to play at very least against right-handed pitching. He's going to keep getting opportunities. And there is talent here. He's gotten worse every season, and I cannot figure out why. There is
12
talent.
team league. I have him in Tout Wars, by the way. I have not played him once. He's been riding my bench every single week. I have not pulled the trigger on cutting him because he obviously has upside. I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough to carry hitters on that lineup on that format in the bench. You know,
I've got one hitter. It's Colton Cowser.
Yep. Well, I've got an extra catcher.
just look at the IL right now for the hitters. Hitters only for Baltimore. Adley Rutschman, Ryan Mountcastle, Jackson Holliday, who actually missed his bobblehead day because of that. Jordan Westberg, Heston Kjerstad, and Tyler O'Neill. How do I know that? Because his wife threw out the first pitch, and he was playing a minor league rehab game and he wasn't ready. How do I know that? Juan Soto missed his bobblehead day also. He was on the IL. In 1 week,
this seems like this has got to be a website to track this stuff.
Two injured players had bobblehead days. 2 injured players had bobblehead days, and they missed it because of injury. That's crazy. Man.
So didn't they just grab somebody to play first base? Because they just put Mountcastle on the 60-day IL?
Well, first base got Alonso.
Right, but they had I think they just grabbed another guy.
They just brought up Weston Wilson. That's what they just brought up. I mean, that's really deep. Yeah,
the Mets brought up Tommy Pham. We brought up Tommy Pham and Craig Kimbrell. Yippee.
Great. Wonderful. I can't wait.
The Mets solution is bring up 37-year-old players who were great 15 years ago.
Yeah, but they can run a mean fantasy football league from what I hear.
They do?
Awesome. Yeah. Well, as long as they get along in that clubhouse, I don't know.
Right, exactly. That's why I said a mean fantasy football league.
Yeah, I get it.
It's bad humor, man. That's all I got. I'm a dad.
All right, well, I'm sure you've been busy, Ruvain, so why don't you give us the detailed injury update for this week?
Yeah, sure. With also another team that was hit very hard with injuries are the Houston Astros. I mentioned Jeremy Pena. He was placed on the IL today with a grade 1 hamstring strain. Usually it's a 2 to 4 week type thing. We mentioned Isaac Paredes will be playing third base for it because Carlos Correa was moved over to shortstop. They also lost Tatsuya Imai, who was sent to the IL with arm fatigue. He's going through a dead arm phase, who joins Hunter Brown, Christian Javier on the 15-day IL. And they also have Ronel Blanco, Hayden Wisniewski, and also deeper Brandon Walter on the 60-day IL, so they're a little bit, what's going on there. Addison Barger, I mentioned he's not wearing the walking boot anymore. He hopes he'll be ready by the end of next week, but he has been shut down until today for no activity, so we'll see how that works. Matthew Boyd, he's on track to return next week, so that's something just to watch for. They said he may need a rehab, he may not need a rehab start, but the Cubs are saying right now he's going to come back. I mentioned Jackson Holiday missing his bobblehead day. That's because he had the hamate injury. He may be activated from the IL sometime next week. So, just watch out for that. Bryce Miller looked good in a bullpen session earlier today, or actually yesterday. He's coming back from an oblique injury, but he hasn't had any actual pitching done. He still has to get built up and everything like that. So he's still got a while to come back. And George Springer was placed on the IL with a fractured toe. He fouled it off his left big toe. Toronto is also dealing with a whole bunch of injuries with Addison Barger, Alejandro Kirk. I mean, they called up Eloy Jimenez to take his spot. That's how deep they have to go because Barger's out. They're waiting for Barger to come back so that they can not have to play Eloy Jimenez.
Wow. It's I hate these injuries, but that's what happens in baseball. And the teams that do well are the ones that avoid injuries, which is true for real life and true for your fantasy squad. All right. Well, this was a great episode. I love when you come on, Sky. Always give great analysis. We have some disagreements, but you always have the stats to back them up, and really great having you. Thank you so much for coming on, and why don't you just tell everybody where they can find your work?
I am at insiderbaseball.com with Fantistics, and you can also find our podcasts on a semi-regular basis on Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts under the Fantistics Insider Baseball Podcast.
Definitely a good podcast. I listen to it to know who Sky is going to take in his fantasy league because I play against him. All right. Ruvain, what about you? I know who you could have taken in your leagues because you're playing against me in one of them.
And, well, you can follow me on
By the way,
Twitter,
wait, hold a second. What did you bid on Jeffrey Springs?
102.
I bid 101.
Are you really serious?
No. So I actually bid on two players for, I think, 104. And one of them was Jeffrey Springs. But my second bid, in case I won the other guy, was going to be I think I had Springs for like 94 as my second guy, but if I didn't get my first one, I would have had Springs over you actually. But I won him. I think it was Riley O'Brien. I picked up the closer. I thought he was more valuable to my squad than Springs, so that's why you won. That's why you won him.
So you spent 104 on Riley O'Brien. I spent 102 on Jeffrey Springs. After in this podcast, you said you wouldn't spend it on the reliever, you'd spend it on the starter.
Well, my team was desperate. I'm not doing great in GDD, and I needed closers because I have Griffin Jacks in that one. So, your team
it just shows each. I was gonna say each team, each aspect is team dependent, also injury dependent. Because I see you dropped Cade Horton in order to get him. So you can check out all the injuries. Follow me on Twitter X at MLB Injury Guru, where I tweet out all these injury updates as they come and their replacement players coming up after them.
Well, great segue there from the GDD talk. Nice job there, Ruben.
Smooth.
Smooth. All right, I'm Ariel Cohen over at Fangraphs, over at Rotoballer, on Twitter X at ATCNY, and on the Beat the Shift podcast, which you're currently listening to. All right, once again, thank you so much for Sky Dombroske from Fantistics Insider. And, hey, you'll catch more of us next week. We are doing different day than we usually do in the past. That's because of my softball schedule. Hey, gotta play. I love fantasy baseball. I love playing real baseball. This is fun for us here. And thanks again for tuning in. All right, once again, thanks, Sky. Thanks, Ruvain. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Beat the Shift podcast presented by Fangraphs. Follow us on Twitter at beat_shift_pod.